Thy word is a lamp unto my feet, and a light unto my path.
Good morning. Today we'll be reading from Psalm 59. Psalm 59 for the choir director, Do Not Destroy, a Miktam of David, when Saul sent agents to watch the house and kill him. Verse 1. Rescue me from my enemies, my God. Protect me from those who rise up against me. Rescue me from those who practice sin, and save me from men of bloodshed. Because look, Lord, they set an ambush for me. Powerful men attack me, but do not because of any sin or rebellion of mine. For no fault of mine they run and take up a position. Awake to help me and take notice. Lord God of armies, you are the God of Israel. Rise up to punish all the nations. Do not show favor to any wicked traitors. They return at evening, snarling like dogs and prowling around the city. Look, they spew from their mouths, sharp words from their lips. For who, they say, will hear? But you laugh at them, Lord. You ridicule all the nations. I will keep watch for you, my strength, because God is my stronghold. My faithful God will come to meet me. God will let me look down on my adversaries. Do not kill them, otherwise my people will forget. By your power make them homeless wanderers, and bring them down, Lord, our shield. For the sin of their mouths and the words of their lips, let them be caught in their pride. They utter curses and lies. Consume them in rage. Consume them until they are gone. Then people will know throughout the earth that God rules over Jacob. And they return at evening, snarling like dogs, and prowling around the city. They scavenge for food. They growl if they are not satisfied. But I will sing of your strength, and will joyfully proclaim your faithful love in the morning. For you have been a stronghold for me, a refuge in my day of trouble. To you, my strength, I sing praises, because God is my stronghold, my faithful God. In this psalm, again, as we've seen several times before, David is beset by enemies in some way. So he's calling on God to help him, to protect him, to be his shield and stronghold. But I also like that he's calling for justice and calling for those enemies to be judged as only God can. And I love the way it's described starting in verse 11 and 12 and 13. He doesn't want them dead. He doesn't want to just God to wipe them out. He wants them to punish them according to their wickedness, and that's really what that's God's pattern throughout the Bible. When he says in verse 13, then people will know throughout the earth that God rules over Jacob. God doesn't just typically indiscriminately just wipe people's out. I think it happens some, but usually when he's punishing a people or a person for their sin, he punishes them in a similar way to what they were maybe trying to avoid. I think of the Tower of Babel. They were building this great tower up to the heavens, and the reason was because they didn't want to be scattered. So what does God come down and do? He scatters them. Their punishment was the thing they were trying to avoid when they were doing wicked. I think of Pharaoh and the plagues. So many of those plagues were a judgment against specific gods. The god of the rivers. Well, what does God do? He comes and turns the rivers to blood. And what has Pharaoh done? He considers himself a god, and he has raised himself. So what does God do? He lowers him down and completely wipes out his army. He kills his son. All these things that should prove that he is not a god. So many times that these enemies of God's people are judged according to their wickedness. And that's what David is calling for here. He doesn't want to kill them. He wants them to be homeless wanderers. They've been chasing David around. He really is a homeless wanderer. So he wants that same judgment against them. And David was a homeless wanderer for a long time through no fault of his own because of the wickedness of Saul and these people trying to chase him. So now he wants that same thing for him, and he understands the purpose of that. David's not seeking revenge because he's not seeking revenge in a wrong way. He wants all the people to know that throughout the earth God rules over Jacob, and that's really the point of any judgment or punishment. It's not just to enact revenge and be cruel. It's to show the glory of God and show that God rules over Jacob and over all the earth, and that He is a faithful God. So David concludes that I sing praises. It seems like every time we read a psalm like this, there's always kind of a conclusion at the end where God reminds us, or the psalmist or David reminds us to sing praises that God is faithful, and that's exactly what He is. Pray this helps you this morning and in your walk throughout the rest of the week. Thank you.